In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how a profitable online coaching business is structured, from the front end all the way till the back end, the mastermind, and all the profit levers in between. This is the same structure that businesses that do 100 to 200K a month, even $1 million a month use. Whether you're a digital marketer looking to profit share, or you're already a coach and you want to break through to the 100K, 200K, 300K months, this is the model you need to understand. I'm going to dig into the profit levers of the business, everything that drives it, the core pillars, how it works. I'm going to pull back the curtain so you see exactly what's going on. I wish I knew about this when I first started. And this is years of experience piecing everything together to what a high performing coaching business is doing. I've joined many masterminds, some of which cost up to 10 grand a month to be a part of. This video is a culmination of all that knowledge. Let's begin. This past month, we did 325K in net volume for the online coaching business. Again, this is just the online coaching business. You also have the mastermind element, which isn't included in this Stripe screenshot here because we use a separate payment processor for that. It's lower fees because it's recurring, right? So that I would say is probably around I'd say about 40 grand. So it's safe to say that this month we did total revenue for the business, about 370K. Again, I profit share with all of this, right? Okay, now I want to pull back everything about it, how you can understand it, a good model to think about an online coaching business and how you should structure it. Again, for ease, for comfort, and most of all, it's simple, okay? So when we talk about an online coaching business, again, how a 300K a month, how 300K a month business works, we always talk about the high ticket as the first thing. So high ticket program. This is always going to be the most important thing we start off with. Why? Because, let me just write it here. Why? Because when we do our entire business, we think about, okay, what is the best way for someone to get the result they need? It always has to be, 3 month, 6 month. It's some sort of a program where you come here, we take you to X, Y, and Z, and then for more support, we have other things available. And so that first thing, the mechanism for real change, it's always going to be the high ticket program. Okay, so this is typically between I would say 3 to 10K. That's a high ticket. Again, if you're in the real estate space, it can be a lot more. It can be upwards of I've seen, of course, 15, like I think even 25K. I believe like people like Pay Smallby have like 25K programs, and that's honestly insane. And so that's a high ticket program. And the lowest I'd say is about 3K. So again, we've discussed the context about this. It's always going to be typically it's not really lifetime value, even though for us, for the coaching program we do, it is lifetime. But again, it's not optimized very well for profit because you want to have it to be recurring. You want to have the main thing to be a one-time payment. After that, to stay on, you want it to be recurring. And so that's the high ticket, okay? Again, this is either real estate or any sort of info product. You always want to strive for this. You never want to strive for your main core thing to be a school membership, like a monthly recurring thing. That should never be the main high ticket. And I'll go into why later on in this video. But for now, just understand that this is the main thing, that everything else comes forward. Every other profit driver in the business comes from this high ticket program. And that's typically what you start with, okay? So that's that. And then you got the front end. Actually, you know what? Let me just make it a bit clearer here. I do realize I'm going to talk a lot. I'm going to write a lot, and so I need space to do that. So, high ticket program, and then you got the front end. Now, when you look at your high ticket program, okay, how am I going to get leads? Like, who's going to come? What the traffic? Like, you got all these questions, right? Like, how do you fill people in your program? That's where the front end comes in. All right, so front end, again, I have discussed at length about what funnel to run in a previous video. I believe actually it's the one just before this one. You can see what funnel to run, what sort of front end should look like for you, depending on your niche. And so the front end can be something like a low ticket, it can be a VSL book a call, it can be a webinar, it can be a challenge, it could be a free lead, magnet. Any one of these constitutes to a front end. And then they come here. So you get the front end, they book a call, you can direct them to a checkout, you nurture them, whatever it is, they get into the high ticket program. So that's how it's very simple. That's how it works. And then you got the mastermind element. So the mastermind is typically it's 10K deposit. So this is how we structure it. 10K deposit, 497 per month. That's us. I've seen, so the ones that I'm actually a part of, they charge 3K, 3 to 5K a month. 3 to 5K per month. So they don't have a deposit, they just have this. And this is recurring basically for the rest of your life when you choose to expire. Typically, they have a 1-year contract, so 1-year commitment. I'm part of 2 masterminds. One of them is 3 to 5K. The other is about 7 to 10K per month, depending if you pay in full, etc., etc. Okay, so that's what a mastermind looks like, right? Mastermind typically 3 ways. So let's talk about it for a quick second here. Again, high ticket is just it's more info. So you use the info. Usually it's a very defined timeline, so it's 3 to 6 months. Also, it's usually, obviously there's a community here. There's weekly calls with founder, weekly calls with coach or founder. That's typically what a high ticket program looks like. Again, you're paying for the commitment. Even from a customer perspective or a prospect, like they're buying into like the result. They really want this. And typically if you sign up, you go front end, you're not as bought in, right? It's something that, oh yeah, I buy it, cool, screw off, right? If you're buying at all. Usually, and this is the only maybe challenge and low ticket, you're buying something. The rest all is like it's free, right? So for you from the perspective of the customer, from the prospect, they're not buying into anything. They're just buying emotionally. Again, they're not putting clear dollars until here. Even if they buy a low ticket, it's still like impulse purchase, right? When they buy a 3 to 5K, let me just write this down. 3 to, yeah, I'll say even 20K. When they buy into a 3 to 20K, typically one time, they are signaling that they're serious, right? So that's why this specific program, this specific driver in the whole business, this is the most important thing, like the outcome, the promises, because once you start from there, you can think of, okay, so let's say for us, we want people to get their first slow flip, right? That's their first real estate deal. Okay, cool. What do they need to know before they jump in, before they need to find out who our founder is, how his philosophy works, to buy into it, case studies, testimonials, all that stuff. This part of the process is where the ascension happens from front end all the way to high ticket. Once they're bought in, they're getting deals, they're excited about Scott, they love him, they love our founder, and then boom, they're into the mastermind. Okay, that's how it typically works. Let me just cancel this real quick. Cool. So that's how it all works. Where do we go from here? Yeah, so once you get the actual program itself, you can start to figure out, okay, what do the people need to know? All right, I need to know the actual philosophy. I need to know the story. I need to know the case studies. I need to maybe demo myself or see it being done right in front of me. I need certainty, right? I need the help of other people who have done this before, who are doing it right now, all of us doing together, and then we move forward into the high ticket program. So that's where something like a challenge works really well, because a challenge puts you all together. You all feel like a family in a group for the 3 days, 5 days, and then all of you sign up for the program. And that's the whole frame of mind we're coming from. Okay. Give me just 1 second here. I'm just going to pause real quick. Okay, so there's that. Now we got the front end, the high ticket, and the mastermind. We understand the elements of how it works. Again, front end is all leads. Even if they buy a low ticket, they start off their journey with us as a buyer, which is what for my business right now, the one we did 300K on, all of them start their journey with a buyer. Again, this past month we ran a challenge. And so with the challenge itself, what typically happens is that We did a JV affiliate partnership with, I think our affiliates did a summit together, and then we pitched our challenge and people bought our challenge from there. So again, they started off from a challenge, not typically a book funnel like what we do. But the thing is, they bought, even if it's $7, like they still bought into the challenge, right? And in the challenge, we give out the book, we give out consumption materials, we give mini course, we give them things for them to consume so that they can sell themselves more of the high ticket program. Okay, so that's typically how the model works. That's typically from a baseline perspective, that's how it works. Now, for us, I want to just outline some of the nuances over here. Between the front end and the high ticket, you will see sometimes people selling stuff for 997. Oops. So products selling for like 997, or they sell for 297. I'll consider these to be what I call mid-tier. So let's just remove this for a sec and let's put in what I like to call mid-tier. Actually, let's call it catalog, not mid-tier. Catalog. So in the catalog, what a catalog is it's typically a DIY solution, right? So if you don't want to get a coach, if you think you can go on it on your own, typically this would work the best for you, because some people are like, you know what, I know what to do. Like, I just need the right things to do it. Or they can't afford, they don't see the value in the 5K yet, but they want to go forth and get shit done. And they want to actually commit to something, right? So typically someone who's early on in their life stage, in their career, they don't have the cash to invest in a 5K, or they do, but it's not prudent of them. They just don't see, they're not very bought into the fact that this program can change their life entirely. They're not bought in yet. And so for them to be bought in, they need to buy this program first, a $997 thing. Again, they watch it, they consume, they demo, they go out and do it on their own, they crush it. And so with that, they see who the founder really is. They understand the philosophy. They have listened to the founder like a bunch of times, like hours and hours, like 100 hours of them in their mind. And so the next step is obviously to get their high ticket program, right? Even if they're broke, they're gonna do whatever it takes to get the funds to get into the program, because again, it's constantly in their mind, their subconscious. They're even speaking like the founder, and that's where the mechanism for this comes from. The value of this sort of course. Again, this should never be, when you look at a business, when you look at ease of conducting the business, the ease of managing the business, you should never ever focus on this, because again, what is the goal? If you want to do 50K a month in revenue, dude, this is fine. I personally want to do 300K a month. I want to do $1 million a month, right? So if I want to do those numbers, this is a lot. Again, if you do the math here, even if it's 300 grand, let's say it's like 1K, you need like 300 units every single month to sell. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. So that's a lot of new purchases. And so it is really difficult to have every single month consistently getting 300 people. And so what we found is this is a good downsell. The way this comes into play is that people come in as a lead, they get pitched the high ticket, and if they can't afford it, or they're looking for a DIY solution, then this is an easy sell. So this is what our closers do on call. So at least I want them to do, because we have a mid-tier product, but it's not as dialed in as I like it to be. It's not a proper like product, sales page, etc. But we still managed to sell a few units of that. And so if I were to dial in more, if I have really squeezed revenue out of our business, I would put in a proper catalog item, which is a $997 thing. So for us, again, our whole thing is get our high ticket program. You get your first deal in, we want to say 60 to 90 days. And so you have the founder's perspective. So again, we get with 997, typically with this, it's a very in-depth course. I'd say it's maybe between 10 to 15 hours, and it's not fluff, it's real value. Again, it's a product that if you were to go out and do that on your own, what would you need? What would you need to know? That's why you'd pack into this $997 thing. And you want to separate it. So for example, maybe 297 is just really completely DIY. Maybe 497 is like one call per month, and then 997 is like maybe 2 calls per month. Again, this is 2 group calls. Or you get maybe a call with a coach. I don't know. But what I would do is I would do this. I'll really punish the people, because in the high ticket, they get help every single day, every single week. They get the founders group coaching call. Okay, so that's how a mid tier works typically. Again, the whole goal of this is to ascend this year. That's it. So that's how the whole business works from a bird's eye perspective. So when we talk about how to achieve, again, how do we achieve that 300K a month for us? I'll break it down. It's all about doing the math. Okay, so actually, let me just make this a bit nicer here. 300K a month. Again, you always start off, what is my goal here? What is my goal? If you don't know your goal, you're never going to get anywhere. Like that famous Alice in Wonderland quote. You have to know how the math checks out. And so for me, I think I knew typically that usually we get about 40 to 50 students every single month, high ticket. And so I'm always like, look, we have 30 that pay in full. Again, we sell a 5K program. And then maybe we have about 20 people who get the payment option, payment plan. That's typically how we have seen it. Again, the math doesn't quite check out here. This is 150K plus what is 20 times 2.5K. Let's just do the math. So it's about 5K times 20. I think that's 100K. And so this is like 50K. Again, this is only 200K. I believe this time, yeah, that's what we usually do, about 200 to 250K. And also we have, so again, let me explain a few things, because we also have recurring payments from last month, right? So all that together, I typically will see, let's say like 30 in terms of like recurring payments from the previous month. And so we have altogether, typically it's about 230K that we've done on average for the last, I don't know, like how many months. This has typically been our revenue every month. And so that's the math that comes up to it, right? So for us to hit 200K and for us to actually do that, we had to sell more units. For example, we had to sell, I think we probably sold, like maybe, I'm just going to put 50 pips for now. I'm going to say, I'm just going to put 30 PP, and then I'm going to say 50K in recurring. Again, this is just for the online coaching business. We haven't talking about the mastermind yet. So 50 PIF, what does that come out to? 50 times, so 250K, that's 250K. I believe this is probably about, 75, I think 75K, if I'm not mistaken. So that's 75K, and then 50K. Again, this is overshot actually. We overshot the goal, which we actually did. So what does the math come out to be? That comes to be about 375K. Again, our numbers actually were maybe slightly less than this ballpark, and this is the number of PIFs we got. But you can see the math of how this came out to be. And so if you do the math, and then of course our mastermind, that's 40K, right? So that's how everything came up to be. Now, we always start about, when we do the math, okay, let's say 300K, how many units do we need to sell? So for me, I know, again, let's say for the purposes of this, I want 50 PIFs let's say, actually total students, I would say about, let's just say 80 students. Cool. So I want 80. So goal, we want 80 students. I want a PIF rate of about, what is 50 divided by, what is 5 divided by 8? Math is usually my strong suit, but quick math, fractional math always is a bit tough. Okay, that's like 62%. So 62% PIF. And I need, the rest to be on a 2.5K a month payment plan. Again, to pay. So this is what I'm aiming for. Okay, so like that, we look at our close rate. Okay, our close rate is about 50%. So I really need about 160 sales calls. Again, this is actually 200K per month. Timeline is very important here. Calls, which means per month, which means we're going to be getting about, if we just divided it by 4, well, that should be 40. Yeah. So 40 a week. Let's just say by 5 days, that's 8 calls a day. Again, you also need to talk about show rates. Again, we have a pretty high show rate, like 90% show rate. So let's just talk about like 10 calls a day. Okay. So I need a minimum of 10 calls a day, 10 sales calls to make 8 proper sales calls. And from there, 50% close rate. That's what the numbers for me come out to be. Okay. So you can see how we are dialing back and reverse engineering everything to get to our main goal here. And also, this is sales calls. We get our current model is front end. We have a inbound set call, sales call, and then sale. So for me to achieve my numbers of 300K, our sale, again, we want to have, let's say 300K. I want to have about 80 units, which means about 160 sales calls. And again, even for our set, I have the numbers like dialed in, right? So our sets typically, so we have a pretty, let's see, we have a 60% show rate. For our set calls, we have about a, so from that we have 40% chance of setting. So if I do the math here, what does that come up to? What is the actual like set rate on like a call? And so let's do this. So 0.4 times 0.6, let's do the math. That's a 24% chance that a lead that comes on board, actually gets to a sales call. So that means, let me just do it. So 24, I'm just going to write 24% chance. So if with these numbers, we are talking about, the numbers that I've done is about 12. I'd say like 12 to 14 sets a day. So I'm just going to put 15 just to be super conservative. So 15 sets a day. Because for me to get, again, let me just whoa, give me 1 second here. Let me just shift back. Cool. So per month. So you can see how the math comes out to be here. Again, let me actually even just dial it back even further. Let me see how I can do this real quick. 160 a month. That means I need about, let me just do it from a month perspective because that's a bit easier. So 160, let's divide that by 0.24. It's like 600 here, which is a bit odd. Actually, does that come out to be correct? 6. Oh yeah, it does. So it does. So I need about I need about 666 set calls a month if I have a 24% set rate to here. Okay, so I need 66 sets scheduled again because only 60% show up, and that's why I need this. And so now we talk about, all right, for someone who buys our low ticket funnel, how many leads do I need? How many book buyers do I need? For me, it's been about, I want to say, so just for you to know, we have a 15% ascension rate. For 15% of our book buyers every month who buy the book, they ascend to a high ticket program. And so if I do the math here, I want to say, let's just say about 30% of book buyers actually book our call. Again, I actually have the math all dialed out. So let me just pause here and I'll just take the math real quick. Okay, so I've done the math over here on my phone, and it actually looks like it's a 34% ascension from book buyer to inbound call. And so 34% of our book buyers over a given month, they book a call. Again, that's through thank you page, that's through weekly email nurture. So again, how many book buyers do I need? Let's see. For me to have 666 actually scheduled, I need about, let's see, divided by 34, 66 divided by 34. So I actually need, no, that's not true. Oh, I need about 1,000 book buyers. It looks like it. I need 1,000 because if I have a 34% chance, let's just do the math here, 34% of my book buyers actually booked the call. Let me just do this real quick. 34%. Oh yeah, it actually is. It's about somewhere between 1900. Whoa, give me just 1 second here. Yeah, so it's about actually 1,950 book buyers that I need, right? So thankfully for us, we have people coming in different ways. We have people from our affiliates. We have different models of the business. And so if I wanted to hit 300K every single month, I would need 1,000 book buyers, right? So every day, it's actually not even that bad because that's like 60. Wow. That's 65 a day. So again, we sell maybe a sixth of this every single day. We personally have about 20-ish book buyers a day. And so for us, if I want to actually succeed on this goal, I need to have 65 book sales a day, which honestly it's a bit crazy for me at this point. But again, that's actually not that crazy because for us, we spend 2K a day on ads, right? And then we get about I want to say about 15 to 20 per day. And so if we spend 6K a day in ad spend, we would easily hit our goal, right? So you can see for me, if I were to make this more consistent, again, for this, we have a challenge. So a challenge obviously helps more. We promote it through affiliates. We had a whole thing going on. And so for us, you can see if I wanted to be serious about this, if I didn't have a mastermind element and stuff like that, I would have to do the math like this, right? So you can see here very clearly how the math comes up. I need what's that? I need to spend 6K a day on paid ads. I need about 65 book sales a day, and that gives up to 1,950 a month, and that gives me 666 set calls a month, and that gives me 80 Freedom Accelerator, 80 like online coaching students. Okay, so which gives 160 sales calls, blah blah blah. So that's how it works. Now, this is just based on cold people coming in every month. We still have my email nurture. There's a math there. We still have affiliate sales. So there's all these things that I didn't model in, but you can just see the beauty in the math. That's all it takes. You just need to model it through to get to your goal, run it backwards, or again, if you run a webinar, then it's the same exact thing. You want to make sure how many people do I need to show up? How many people register? How many people show up? How many opt in? How many get the sale? How many book a sales call? Again, all this is a game of math. So I hope this really clarifies the economics and behind the scenes of what a real 300K a month online coaching business looks like. Again, it may seem complicated, but when you break it down the math, for me, it's very, very easy to see where the bottleneck is and where to scale. Okay, hope this is useful. Again, this was really awesome for me as well to share with you how this works. I've never seen people do it to this extent, and I hope this really provides clarity for you. Okay, that's it from me, guys. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.